My name is Benjamin Shapiro. For my final presentation, I will be discussing what I believe will be the next pandemic, named TAG-24. TAG-24 is a hypothetical pandemic which was specifically crafted to be extremely virulent and pose as an enormous threat to society. The TAG-24 pandemic is named utilizing the World Health Organization's naming criteria. This naming scheme was designed to protect regions and groups of people from being unfairly targeted by a disease's name, such as the 1918 Spanish flu. For my hypothetical pandemic, TAG stands for the made-up parasitic pathogen Tagosis. The D stands for disease. In addition, the hyphen and 24 stand for 2024, the year in which the disease will first be discovered. This naming system models COVID-19's naming system and ensures that no group of people or region is discriminated against. It also ensures that the name does not install unnecessary fear, such as how the names the Black Death do. As a creative twist for this project, I took the liberty to model this disease after the childhood game of tag. However, as clearly indicated in the PowerPoint, this pandemic is no game. The TAG-24 pandemic is caused by the pathogen Tagosis. Tagosis is a hypothetical parasitic infection that is similar in nature to scabies. Both causative agents are ectoparasites. This means that the parasites live on the outside of the infected host. Scabies was first scientifically studied in the 17th century, but has been around since ancient times. In addition to the TAG-24 pandemic's parasitic similarity to scabies, both have similar transmission characteristics, which will be discussed later. Other biological characteristics soon to be discussed at length in this presentation include host symptoms and R-naught estimates. Attached to this slide of the presentation is an image of the scabies parasite. Tagosis in this hypothetical pandemic will look similar to what you see in the photo. One reason why TAG-24 will be the next pandemic is its unique transmission characteristics. Just like with scabies, the Tagosis parasitic pathogen spreads from person to person through skin-to-skin contact. This is a mode of direct transmission since it does not require the use of an intermediate host, either living or non-living. I believe that direct transmission is an important characteristic which boosts pandemic potential, since it can lead to massively increased transmission rates. There are a few unique characteristics of the transmission process for TAG-24. For instance, the disease can only spread through the hand of the infected host. This means that a healthy individual can only be infected if he or she is touched by the hand of a diseased individual. This process has been nicknamed tagging and resembles the childhood game of tag. Additionally, once an infected host transmits trichosis to two different healthy individuals, the parasite completely leaves the original host system. This is especially dangerous as it gives an incentive to infect other people with the disease once you are infected. The transmission characteristics of Tagosis are specifically crafted to increase its pandemic potential. While skin-to-skin contact is admittedly less threatening than aerosol and vector-borne disease spread, the fact that there is an incentive to spread the disease to two other people to cure yourself has the potential to drastically increase tensions in transmission. Unlike previous pandemics such as COVID-19, where the infected stay at home to try to minimize contact, TAG-24 encourages exactly the opposite. This is similar to how rabies alters behavior to increase its transmissibility. Another biological characteristic which increases TAG-24's pandemic potential is the host symptoms. In this hypothetical disease, the case fatality rate is 100% after exactly 24 hours of being tagged. This means that the infectious period is a single day. Additionally, I've set the incubation and latency period to 0, meaning that the appearance of symptoms and beginning of transmission happen right away after being tagged. As mentioned previously, there are a few caveats with the disease. Once the original infected host infects two other people, he or she becomes healthy again. However, once cured, an individual can still become infected again. The cured person cannot be infected by the same person he or she infects due to a short period of immunity. This immunity has been nicknamed tagbacks to model after the game of tag. A few symptoms of the TAG-24 pandemic include heightened speed, abnormally high blood pressure, a mild rash on hands, and an extreme desire to spread the parasite through tagging. The rash on hands is caused by the ectoparasite as it burrows within the hands of the infected host. As mentioned in its symptoms, the parasite affects the brain of the host, making him or her eager to spread the disease. This is similar to the hypothetical zombie outbreaks, where the infected are eager to eat the brains of healthy individuals. These symptoms all increase the parasite's pandemic potential since they facilitate the spread of disease. Since the host gains a desire to spread the disease and they even gain heightened speed, those that become infected will be impossible to reason with and avoid completely. One last characteristic of the disease which affects its pandemic potential are R0 estimates. R0 is calculated by the average number of secondary infections that the host produces in a susceptible naive population. The R0 value for tag24 is 2, since the infected host must infect 2 other people before he or she become cured. To put this in context, COVID-19 has an R0 value between 1.4 and 2.4. This is a relatively high value since COVID-19 is transmissible through the air, making public spaces extremely dangerous for disease spreading. Since the R0 value is 2, it is simple to calculate the percentage of the population which must be vaccinated to eliminate the disease. Using the formula outlined in the presentation, 50% of the population must be vaccinated to eliminate the disease. However, a greater population should still be treated, as this will make up for any lack of vaccine efficiency. The higher the R0, the greater its pandemic potential. With the R0 value of 2, the tag24 needs to be dealt with in its early stages in order to avoid disaster. There are 2 social economic and 1 cultural factor which largely contribute to the spread of the new disease. One social economic factor is social inequality. As mentioned throughout this course, even the wealthiest individuals have suffered from diseases in the past. For instance, kings and queens have never been immune to a disease before, despite a couple such as Napoleon claiming divine intervention. However, Tag24 offers a unique opportunity to powerful people since tagging 2 others guarantees their survival. This begs the question of whether the rich and powerful could bargain for their survival from others. The ethics of this question should be fully fleshed out before any drastic measures are taken. In addition to social inequality, another social economic factor contributing to transmission is urbanization. In most urbanized regions, there is a large homeless population as well as large gatherings. This will make disease control strategies such as quarantining very difficult. Diseases in the past, such as COVID-19, have shown the devastating effects that pandemics have in large cities compared to more rural regions. One cultural factor contributing to Tag24 spread is family dynamics. With other diseases, when a family member is sick, visitation is usually warranted to comfort the infected person. However, this would be extremely dangerous with Tag24, since the parasite increases the infected person's desire to spread the disease. As indicated throughout this course, early detection and rapid response is critical when dealing with a pandemic. As such, disease surveillance is a necessity for dealing with Tag24. One disease surveillance strategy that will be utilized is an online application for infection reporting, affectionately named Tag Your It. This digital application will be similar to the Flu Near You application that was made back in 2011 to track the spread of influenza cases across the United States. Within Tag Your It, people will be able to report disease cases that they notice within their geographical region. From this data, the application will display a digital map with markings of all reported cases. In later stages of the pandemic progression, a possible reward can be set up for confirming a tagged 24 case. This is similar to how smallpox was eradicated, utilizing a reward for surveillance efforts. In addition to an online application, the utilization of existing social media will be useful for disease surveillance. Applications such as Twitter and Instagram would be useful for documenting specific cases of the disease through videos and pictures. Videos of existing cases can reveal locations of severity as well as symptoms of the disease. However, people need to be wary of using social media as the only form of disease surveillance, as misinformation and disinformation is commonplace on these applications. To control and stop the spread of Tag24, the disease management strategies of national military intervention and shutdown of borders should be employed. Military units should be deployed to maintain peace amongst the infected and non-infected. Military individuals will help by patrolling streets, controlling large gatherings, and answering a variety of emergency situations. This is important since it reduces the chance of purposeful transmission, which is a major symptom of the Tagosis parasite. In addition to deploying military personnel, governments will need to coordinate and lock down their borders. This includes all borders of air, water, and land travel. This will have a major impact as it greatly reduces transmissibility between countries. As such, it will be easier to isolate and control infected individuals. The third disease management strategy that I will go into detail in this presentation is mass quarantines. There are a few reasons why mass quarantines will be the most effective form of management to eliminate the TAG24 pandemic. Since the disease is 100% fatal within 24 hours, if a large coordinated effort to mass quarantine is put into place, a rapid end could be brought to the pandemic. Mass quarantining entails that everyone will isolate in their homes with healthy family members. Non-essential places of work will be shut down, including schools. This is similar to what was seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. To regulate the outside world and provide protection, essential military workers will help patrol and respond to emergency situations. Additionally, safe lockdown shelters will be provided to those who need housing. To implement this strategy effectively, I've come up with a three-step plan. Firstly, communication between the government and its citizens will broadcast news of an upcoming coordinated quarantine. Then, the population will be put under lockdown for an entire week. Lastly, the plan's effectiveness will be reevaluated and further implementation may be needed. This is an important step since it is hard to predict how the pandemic will respond to a one-week coordinated quarantine. To discuss my communication and cooperation plan, I've decided to respond to prompt B. This prompt asked me to consider how I'll scale up my quarantine strategy from a local level to an international level. To answer this question, I felt it was necessary to employ a top-down management approach to effectively implement the strategy. Instead of starting small at the local level, I believe it will be more effective to have information coming first from international governing bodies such as the World Health Organization to national and then local governments. This way, countries themselves will be able to decide how to implement the strategy of mass quarantines in their own manner. This is important because every region has its own geographical and population characteristics, which require unique strategies of implementation. This is like how in the United States, the states themselves decide how to implement COVID-19 restrictions. Communication will be broadcasted to the local level using various news outlets, social media, and radio. It is also important to mention the key stakeholders which are important to this top-down implementation approach. Country leaders and religious leaders are critical in relaying important information about the disease and building trust in the guidelines to follow. International cooperation is also crucial and will hopefully be achieved through worldwide organizations such as the United Nations and the World Health Organization. Lastly, it is important to consider the dissemination plan to both healthcare providers and the general public. Information about the mass quarantining plans to healthcare providers is critical since these workers are essential and they will not be quarantining at home. As such, these workers need to be on high alert due to at-risk conditions. To meet these needs, information will be spread straight to them from government agencies. This can be done through health department websites such as the CDC and directly to their emails. To relay information of quarantining information to the general public, news outlets will be utilized to broadcast reputable information from governments and scientists. In addition to news outlets, social media will be utilized to relay strategy information. However, this method has some drawbacks since they are often the breeding ground for misinformation and disinformation. Despite this, applications have taken steps to limit misinformation through features such as community notes, which helps point out posts which do not convey the truth. Social media is extremely important for relaying information to the general public at a rapid pace that has not been seen throughout the rest of the course of human history. To conclude, I'd like to emphasize why TAG24 has a good potential to becoming the next pandemic. This potential can be summarized by one word: greed. The Tagosis parasitic pathogen has the unique characteristic of being spread directly from skin-to-skin contact. Additionally, the host symptoms go away if he or she transmits it by tagging two other individuals before succumbing to the disease within the day. The combination of these symptoms installs a sense of desire to spread the disease like no other infections before it. This desire is most recognizable as greed. This is the main reason why TAG24 has extreme pandemic potential. Accordingly, it would take the complete coordination of all people around the world to combat the disease spread. Hopefully, we'll see nothing like the Tagosis parasite in the future.